Welcome everybody to Poetry Live. Just a quick reminder to mute your mics until it's time to speak. And I think I'm going to get rid of this disclaimer so you can all see my face much more clearly, I guess. Yeah, so I want to welcome you all and thank you for being here. As always, Poetry Live is sponsored by the Erie County Public Library. They give us the Zoom space, and in better times, they give us the physical space. So that's always rad. And, you know, I don't think I've mentioned this enough, but this is also in conjunction with the poet laureate, Chuck Joy. He's been, you know, this came from Calamari, and he's the one that kind of reached out to us. So that's been wonderful. Yeah, so thank you everybody for being here. It's Tuesday night. The snow's been crazy. At least you're not, you know, you didn't have to drive here, so that's a plus. I spent like an hour digging out my car this morning, so that wasn't great. So basically, at Poetry Live every week, we just read our own poetry, or sometimes we have covers of other poets and other poems. Each person is asked to read only 2 poems, 3 if they're all very short. And what'll end up happening is you will introduce yourself. After you've introduced yourself, you know, you can kind of go. In order to kind of keep the thing going, everybody can just like type their name into the chat, and I'll just kind of go down in the order to kind of see who wants to be next. Normally we have Danny go second, but he has not appeared yet, and that is a-okay because we all got lives, that's for sure. Okay, so before we get I get to all of you, I will start with a poem of my own for today. It's a new poem, and it is a long poem, 30 lines. Both I'm not used to doing live quite yet, but I said, why not? I haven't written a new poem in at least a couple weeks, so let's go with it. My name is Patrick Nuttall, and this is Abdeckery. Toss me into the yard with the others to wait and be rendered tallow or glue, and I'll start up a chat with a mare and a hog, and a chorus of corpse flies will ask about you. Not at first, of course, but after they have learned my name and on which street I had once lived and what I do with my feet at the piano, the conversation would, as always, drift to love. First I would name you, but after I might tell them how blue would streak down your back and thighs in the shower after you dyed it, and for days you would worry if the skin of your neck was also stained, lifting your hair roughly to show me, and every time I would kiss you, expecting my lips to take your color. You'd start surprised, but expecting my hands to find your hips, my ignorance when I professed the tone was the same it had always been, even what you had been born with. The mare would laugh, unimpressed, the hog would muse which color it might be next, pink to orange, reborn as a new star or calendula, twisting somewhere in the warm south in the afterstorm of spring mornings. And it too might find love, or joy as bees dance pollen over its corolla. Thank you. Okay, let me get this Zoom back. Thank you all for your claps. Scroll to the top. Looks like Chuck will be next. Let's welcome Chuck, everyone.
Thank you, Patrick. This is as close as I'm going to get to the political part of the program tonight. It's a poem from the chapbook, The Opposite of Gifts. It's a super sad poem that by this time tomorrow will not be as sad. It's called My Granddaughter. Her daddy never finished high school, not for lack of trying. That second year of 10th grade, plenty. Her mother, my daughter, I'm grandpa, maternal grandfather. My daughter, her mother, she tried to see something in him. They never married and they never argued much. After a few years, they just seemed to give up. Dad comes around once in a while. Big events he wants to share, birthdays, the circus. My granddaughter. Yesterday, she ran into the house, 8 years old, all excited. Daddy took her to the rally at the Coliseum. She got to shake the president's hand. Thank you. This next one is called The Gap Before Memory Returns. Sometimes I have been busy in my head. Thoughts run off in multiple directions, leaving me alone at the computer, peering toward the screen. I might even have lifted fingers. Other times, I could be standing, maybe in the kitchen, maybe turned toward the window, then looking toward the stove. A moment unmoored, adrift in existence, cast off, maybe a line curled in my hand. Why a line curled in my hand? A silence whistling between my ears, the sound of the void and the cosmos, the false belief in separateness, suspended, all is one. Until I remember the password or that I'd like a cup of tea. Thank you.
Thank you, Chuck. Especially like those last two lines. Okay, let's looks like R.C. Wilson, God, can't talk today. R.C. Wilson wants to read, and I'm happy to listen to him.
Hi, I am Zooming from Kent, Ohio. I heard about this reading from Chuck Joy, who visited one of our readings, and I'm happy to be here. My poem is called Revolution Used to Be Harder. These are things you might mention if you happen to be a cellmate to Jake Angeli, the QAnon shaman. I heard you tell the guard you'd get sick without organic food. Good luck with that. Things used to be harder. They fed us mostly mush, and if we wanted gravy, we had to boil up a mess of rat testicles. Could have been organic, I suppose, but not certified to the best of my knowledge. Back in the 1960s, we had a few people wanting to overthrow the government, but things used to be harder. Instead of Twitter, we had mimeograph machines, and you got blue stuff on your hands that smelled like paint thinner, and then you had to walk around passing out little manifestos, and people would kick your ass and kick your teeth in and throw your manifestos in the storm sewer. I know, wrong place, wrong time, right? But there's a trick that might help you to see it coming. If you're busting into the Capitol building of the most powerful nation on earth, there is a high probability you are in the wrong place and that the wrong time is about to happen. Just saying. That seemed clear to us when we were young, but things used to be harder. You might want to ease up with the whole white privilege thing. Generally, when you get involved with violent overthrow of the big G, they suspend your white privileges, or at least they reduce them a little. And speaking of white privilege, what if that whole Second Amendment thing was supposed to be for everybody and not just whites only? You ever heard of Fred Hampton? He was a big believer in the Second Amendment, like some of your revolutionary brethren, but the Chicago police and the FBI accidentally assassinated him in his bed. But he was born without white privilege, and that was back in the day when things used to be harder. I see you favor horns and coyote skins instead of hats, and you call yourself a shaman, and I'm guessing you self-identify as some sort of Native American, and if so, you might want to let the guards know you're not really Native American, because those dudes don't get white privileges either. Has anyone ever told you about how the government went to take away their guns up in South Dakota? They foolishly thought the Second Amendment applied to them, but the government straightened them out, took away their guns, and then shot them all dead. Men, women, children, just before New Year's, 1890. Things used to be harder. I support your right to not eat prison food unless it is organic. You ever heard about those IRA dudes over in England? They would not eat at all, day after day, week after week. Hey, maybe that would stop the steal. Of course, 10 of those guys had to starve to death, but things used to be harder. You think Donald will starve for you? I know he loves you, but he really loves cheeseburgers. The revolution used to be harder.
Oh my God, I love that so much.
Thank you. Do I have time for something else?
You
want me to pass it on?
Exactly like that about the cheeseburgers. It's so funny you said that. I just wrote a line like that.
Yeah, you can. It's as long as it's on the shorter end. You have time for one more.
All right. I got a song, if that's all right. I like to write poems and songs. This is one I wanted to bring to Erie, you know, in the actual flesh, drive in and find the poetry reading and do it. Well, the fish are all gone from the harbor, and the seagulls have taken the piers. Don't wait to watch those big ore boats come in, 'cause they haven't stopped here in years. Bats have moved into the smokestack. Swallows now nest in the eaves, and that sign is still taped on the guard shack, inviting us kindly to leave. Don't try to use that old payphone. You'd only be wasting your dime. And don't stop to visit the time clock. It's been punched for the very last time. But the crickets have fiddles and the frog's got a bass. The possum is swaying with a grin on his face. We can swing neath these stars on their heavenly vault as we dance that ghost town waltz. As we dance the ghost town waltz. You know, the weeds have grown up through the dance floor, and the carousel is crying for oil. Wind whistles soft in the food store, where the canned goods are dented and spoiled. That old grill for our burgers is rusted. At the counter they serve no more malts. And though the jukebox is riddled with bullets, we can still dance that ghost town waltz. 'Cause the crickets have fiddles and the frogs got a bass. The possum is swaying with a grin on his face. We can swing 'neath these stars on their heavenly vault as we dance the ghost town waltz. As we dance the ghost town waltz. You know, first we got screwed by Republicans, and then it was the Democrats too. We thought, why not give this next fool a try? How much worse could he do? But the crickets have fiddles and the frogs got a bass. The possum's a swaying with a grin on his face. We can swing 'neath these stars on their heavenly vault as we dance the ghost town waltz. As we dance the ghost town waltz. Thank you very much. Appreciate your giving me the time.
Absolutely, and thank you for coming. That was definitely very wonderful. Both of the poem and the song. Was not expecting it, and it definitely lightened up my day.
Well, being unexpected is a privilege. Thank you.
Okay, let's see. It looks like Todd is going next, so let's all welcome Todd.
Hey, yeah, that's of the last 4 years, that picture of our soon to be ex-president presiding over the cheeseburgers was my second favorite picture from his president, only after the one of him behind the wheel of a big semi-truck, looking like it was his first time being behind the wheel of a big semi-truck. So I really appreciated that. All right, but enough about you. So today I am going to read 3 short poems, and these 3 short poems are shorter than all of the poems that I have read, like all together. Like these 3 together are shorter than anything I've read at this event. So yeah. Tomorrow on Thursday, I'm going to a long form poetry open mic where I'm going to be reading Doris in its entirety for the first time on Calling All Poets. So yay. But yeah, here are 3 short poems. This one's untitled. And if I didn't want to, it's not because I didn't want to. It's just that I didn't want to. That's it. This poem is a recent submission. I submitted it to Rust Belt Press, so my fingers are crossed and I'm checking my email every 15 minutes. And it's called Soil. This dirt was once the skin of a score of slain men, buried by the winds of the plain. This grass drank their blood. That tree gnawed at their meat. Those patches of moss sucked the marrow from their dusty bones. A fine place for a selfie, I suppose. It's a comment on all those people who are taking selfies at war memorials, you know, like that's the right thing to do. And for my last poem, another really short one, another untitled one. To explain away all of the nothingness that makes up everything is to give up on the world. That's all I got for you today.
Thank you so much, Todd. Short does not mean bad. That's the thing about art, is it can be short or long, and it's always great. Well, not always. There's some bad art out there, but none of you guys. You guys are all great. Okay, let's see. It looks like Mabel will be next. Welcome, Mabel.
Hi, everyone. So I don't really have access to my poetry because I can't get online on my laptop. So I'm going to read 3 very short poems, 2 from the book Her. I'm really promoting this guy. His name's Pierre Alex Gianti, and then one that I just wrote. So I'll start with Her. Her is the title of all of his poems, and short and sweet, or short and just to the point, not always sweet. All right, so this one's called Her. You are your own kind of beautiful. Be that kind of beautiful. Be both kind and beautiful. Thank you. And the next one is also titled Her. The man for you will understand that you are both a survivor and a warrior, full of scars, yet fearless. Thank you. And the final one today is called That's My Life. I finally got a part in a movie. It was called A Magic Show, Diversity and Inclusion. My response, no thank you. That's my life. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabel. Love that. We just had a lot of really good rockers today. Okay, let's see. So it looks like Leonard will take you next.
Okay, coming to you live from the southwest coast of Lake Michigan. Fred Hampton, I remember him. And my U.S. representative is one of his companions, Bobby Rush, who is still kicking ass and taking names. Kisses like ghosts. Lily wants to be 18 again, parked out in the county woods. Lost in kisses so deep in her soul, she's scared to breathe. Scared that if she does, she'll miss something. Paloma needs to be 18 again, free to open herself to the one she thinks can lead her out of sadness. Sadness that surprises, and the thought of being the same forevermore. She gathers the wings of her dressing gown and sits before the morning mirror. The careful fingerprints of a man she's never kissed show through the powder and gloss. Elegy. Thank you. Elegy. Dig the small grave and place the smaller body so, just so. The chill May rain and the warm human tears falling on her head will serve for the ritual washing of this pup, barely 2 days old. Some future digger after truth, alien or human, kneeling with trowel and brush at this grave, will note in clear, concise script the wonder that a people would be so deliberate with the smallest of their God's creations and so careless of themselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leonard, and I'm glad you're able to come back. Your first poems were great, and it's good to hear you again. Okay, so I think the only other person that's not on the list is Nisi. Did you have something to read tonight? If so, let's welcome Nisi to the stage.
Sorry I'm behind, guys, but what I heard was always awesome as usual. So, and I missed you guys. Can you hear me okay? All right, make sure my internet is stable. All right, I think I read these before, but I did do some editing, and I usually go through my poetry and add or subtract things and edit it sometimes. So I don't know. But I have been learning to title things. So this one was titled The Message. And it was, I wrote this a few years ago about Martin Luther King Jr. on his birthday. Okay. The Message. Strategize and fix our broken wings. Dr. King, he already has done his thing. He and others, they set the path for us winning. So stand up, fix your postures, and every one of you are queens and kings. And while I'm speaking of posture, please stop moving like you're an imposter. You'll never be a European man because you were directly stolen from the motherland. And men, don't you ever want to get up and walk, command attention from a room when you start to talk? Do you know how many battles were fought for you to live free in America and express your thoughts? But whenever you get a chance, you limit the talk to sport, keep the conversation short so that there's no response for a retort. And it gets so deep, too deep for the conscious to sort. And the mission usually ends with the abort. And I'm really tired of hearing about this rap with prayerful woman in charge of bridging the gap. Me bridging the gap, I'm ready to seal it all up. People, I need you to move off of your asses and get up. Enough is enough. So we have to get up and fix our own communities, be providers and accountable for our own families. And remember, you are proven royalty. So please stop depending on the majority's loyalty. It's the first one. And I got one more short one. I think I titled this one, Spirit. There is a spirit, condemning in nature, always knows when to find me. Fiercely outspoken, micromanaging every thought, lampshading every idea, monitoring my whispers while controlling my tongue muscles. My voice box struggles as my body temperature regulates and an unwelcome tampering. There is a spirit, familiar in nature, always knows just where to find me. And sometimes its complexion and its shape mirrors my own. Its scent, its very taste resembling my own flesh, imitating my footsteps, mimicking my hips as they sway, attempting to destroy the gifted, phenomenal energy resting in my core. It's mocking me. There is this spirit, healing in nature. It always knew who I was and who I would become. Washed my hair, my feet, and my soul. It found me, it kept me, creating intricately all around me, releasing energies, eccentricities, removing toxins, a ghost, restoring order, commanding the wind and how it should blow, everlasting, present and forgiving. That is the spirit. That's it.
Thank you so much, Nisa. Well, I think, unless if anybody snuck on, which I'm in control of that, so they couldn't have. That's everyone. I do want to thank everybody for coming again tonight. I want to thank both our local poets, and I want to thank our out-of-towners who I feel like we're very privileged to have stop by. It's been great just hearing people from all over the area. I do want to, aside from just thanking everybody, again, I want to thank the Erie County Public Library for having us. I just want us looking forward, you know, it's the new year, a little bit after. Life is changing pretty drastically for many of us. So let's hope we can kind of move forward and keep on with whatever the world throws at us. We'll be here next week, same time, as always. There is going to be some exciting new poetry programming out of the library in February. We're going to be doing some stuff for Black History Month. We're going to be putting up some like book menus on our Facebook, just like things to like show books we have. So yeah, keep an eye out on our Facebook as well as everything else. And I look forward to seeing you guys all next week.